Hey everyone, Sakurai here, and in this video, I wanted to talk about what I wish I knew about the process of learning and how to learn efficiently and effectively. Um, and there's a lot here that I really wish I knew when I started out because it would have helped me a lot. Um, and I'm hoping it helps a lot of people. But with that said, everyone does learn differently. So this may not apply to you. And in which case, just try to observe what resonates with you and what doesn't, and trust your gut about these things. Like if you feel like, well, you're talking about a type of personality that I'm not really, then try and think, okay, so what are you? But okay, so let's get to it. So when I started, there was a lot of talk about mileage, and I'm going to be using a graph to kind of explain. So we have time at the bottom, and then a bunch of different things. So let's say in the span of a day, or just a measure of time, maybe this is your session of drawing. Um, as you draw more, your mileage goes up. So that's pretty linear. The more you put in, the more time you put in, the more mileage you've gained, and that's like it doesn't matter about the quality of what you're doing here. It's just if you put more time in, you get more uh, mileage. And I heard, and I still hear a lot of talk that's only focused on this one element, which is something like, you'll hear things like you have to put in 10,000 hours, but it's not 10,000 quality hours, 10,000 crappy hours. It's just 10,000 hours. And I think the problem with focusing on this too much, the mileage alone, although it's important, just because if you're spending that amount of time, chances are you are going to make an improvement. But is it efficient? So what I mean is, are you getting the most out of your time that you're putting in? And could you actually be learning faster by doing less work? Okay, so let's look at the energy level. So basically, your energy goes down, right? Um, and so as time goes by, you have less and less energy. You take a break and you eat, and then your energy will go up again. But just for this case, in the span of a session, maybe a session for me might be 2 or 3 hours. But for different people, it's different. I'm very much a sprinter. I have a lot of energy in the beginning, and then I quickly fizzle out. But some people are marathon runners. They can last a very long time. So the time, I didn't want to specify like this is an hour or this is 3 hours or this is 6 hours, because it's just whatever you can do in your uh, in your whatever span of the day or whatever. I don't know. So what about fatigue? Well, for me, fatigue kind of does this. I'm fine, and I'm starting to get tired, and then I really get tired. So you get this, or at least for me, I get like this type of thing where I'm generally fine for a while, but then maybe about if we think about it, it's about like 3/4 of the way in, I really get tired, and maybe just sort of does that. Okay, so what about skill? And what do I mean by skill? By skill, I mean, when are you learning and when are you gaining skill and when are you not? And for me, when I start out, I kind of have a certain level, and then I'll learn something, and boop, that goes up, and then it kind of stays at that spot, and I'll learn something else, and it's like, okay, and then I don't really learn anything else. And actually, over time, what happens is, as I start to get fatigued, my skill goes down, and in many cases, it goes down lower than when it started. So that's a weird thing to consider, that you actually can get worse over time. But if you think about it in terms of a different discipline, not something like art, but if you think of it like, let's say, lifting weights or something, or doing any kind of rigorous exercise, in the beginning, you have a lot of energy at your disposal. So, you know, you need a bit of time to warm up, but then you kind of reach a spot where you're like here, where you're warmed up, and then you can do quite a bit. But then you start to get tired just because your muscles are tired. You've overworked them, and then they're not helping you anymore. Like, they have less to offer you. So that's when I think the skill actually goes down. So I didn't know what to call this one exactly. Maybe stamina, maybe, I don't know what, dexterity, maybe, because that is kind of how dexterity works as well. Just your hand skill. I in the beginning, I'm not good because I haven't warmed up. So my lines are kind of not great. But then I get better and better lines. But then once I get tired, those go down. Okay. Now these two, the next ones are very related. So for me, with frustration, let's deal with that first. So in the beginning, I'm actually pretty excited about what I'm doing, so I'd say the frustration's pretty low. Then maybe I'll have like issues, things that kind of bother me, like, oh, that wasn't very good, this isn't working, and my frustration tends to spike. But once I start getting really tired, I notice I tend to make more mistakes and I get really frustrated. And so with fun, generally, when I start, I'm actually having more fun. And then as things don't work out, my fun starts to decrease. And then return on investment is really kind of like a total thing. Like, how much are you actually getting from this session? I think in the beginning, I get a ton. And then as time goes on, kind of get less and less return on the amount of time I'm putting in. So if you look at this, there's kind of this point around, like, for everybody, again, it's different. Here it's around here. Here it's around here. Here it's around here. Here it's like there, where things start to fall, right? Like, you're not having as much fun. You're, in this case, the frustration's going up. Your fatigue is going up. And the energy and the mileage, or whatever, that's constant. And then the return, you're getting a lot here, but you're not getting much here. So what I started to do is kind of stop here. And so I'm doing a shorter session, but I'm stopping when I reach the point where I feel like I'm getting tired. And this is something that I actually, like, this whole learning process thing, I actually learned it from playing video games, strangely enough. So I suck at certain types of games, and when I was young, I would play a lot of JRPGs because they didn't require like skill, like dexterity or anything. But then I started playing these action RPG games like Darksiders, Nier Automata, Bayonetta, and these games, if you're not familiar with them, they tend to have like hard modes, which kind of are really hard. And I was playing these games and I was just dying a lot. So I would reach this point where it wasn't fun anymore. It's like, well, I'm just dying. It's not fun. But I wanted to beat the thing, like whether it was an arena or whatever it was. I wanted to, like, I didn't want to lose. I wanted to get the rewards of whatever it was, and I wanted to feel like I could do it. And so I was feeling really frustrated. And I remember in the past, what happened was when I got too frustrated, I would quit. I would just be like, this isn't fun. I can't do this. And I would play and play and play. So I'd put a lot of mileage into the game, right? Put a lot of mileage into like a session. Maybe I would play for, I don't know. I don't play that long, so maybe like 3 hours is a long time for me. Yeah, so I would play and play and play, and I would be losing. I would be getting frustrated. So my frustration goes up. And my skill kind of hit this wall where in the beginning it felt like, yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm getting further and further. And that's one of the beauties of video games is they give you metrics you can easily see. Like, you know, there's the boss's HP or whatever, and you can see, oh, it's to whatever, 80%. And then, oh, I've taken them down to like 60%, and it's very visible. So I could see at some point I was actually not able to get as far as I was earlier in that period. So there was a point where it's like, I'm not having fun. I'm getting tired. I'm not getting much return on investment. I'm getting frustrated. But I was putting a lot of effort in. And then I would just kind of maybe do that for a couple days, maybe 3 days, and then I would quit. Because it's like, this is not fun. I don't want to do this. I'm quitting. And then I had this idea. Okay, maybe I could approach this differently. So instead of thinking about beating the boss, what I was going to think is, I don't know where I got the idea from, but it struck me that maybe your brain learns by itself and you don't need to worry about it. So I knew fun mattered a lot to learning. I knew that the more fun you had, the more you remembered whatever you were learning. So I had this experience in school. If there was a teacher that was more engaging, I would remember what they said a lot more. If it was really dry and boring, it was a lot of work to remember stuff. So if once you start being frustrated and you feel like I'm not having that much fun anymore, stop. And what I did is I would stop for that day. So I ended up playing like 10 or 15 minutes on this arena thing. And it started getting tough. Stop. And the thing I said is, do not judge this. Like, don't put a judgment. Don't say I suck. Don't say I'm good. I'm doing worse. Nothing. Just treat it as if it doesn't even matter. You're not worried about the result. Then go to sleep, like not immediately, obviously, like do the things the rest of the day, whatever you want to do, whatever you need to do, and then go to sleep and wake up. And then the next time you try, just like try again, like just make sure you keep trying, but not in this kind of judgmental way where it's like, today I'm gonna beat this boss, this is the day I'm gonna do it. No, just like I'm just gonna play until I get frustrated again. So I would start, and what I noticed is the next day, like there's a skill thing, I would be ending my sessions like here before I started getting, so I'm doing pretty okay. Sometimes actually I would end when it starts to, I notice I'm starting to make mistakes because that's when I start to get frustrated. So I'd end there, and I would take a day off. What I noticed is the next time I tried this, my skill was way higher, like just boop. And it was always best in the beginning of the session. And it would be weird. Like, wait, why is that the case? I would have thought like I need warm-up time. Aren't you better like a little bit in? But no, I found that I was the best at the time when I had the most energy and the least amount of fatigue. And then as I did more, my skill was going down. So then again, stop. And then when you start again, your skill goes up. It has another jump. And so I thought, like, will this work if I don't judge it? And indeed, every day I was starting and I could do stuff I really struggled with. Like maybe I was trying to dodge a specific attack and I was just failing and failing and failing. And it felt like I'm not getting better at this. And there's this idea that if you practice more, you'll get better. But no, stop. Don't worry about it. Don't get any frustration. Because what happens is when you're having fun, your brain is releasing chemicals like dopamine and stuff, and it makes you feel good and it makes the learning get cemented. When you have frustration, your brain releases cortisol or whatever. It's like stress. You get bad things. This is not encouraging learning. So actually, the more time you spend in, this shade is the wrong part, this area, the more you're actually making your growth slower. So it's actually better if you didn't do any of that at all. And the more you spend in this area, the more you're helping yourself grow. So the thing then was not worrying about a day and thinking like, well, I didn't beat this boss in a day. And just kind of taking the long approach. And what happened is it took me about a week for each case when I was confronted with these like difficult things I didn't feel like I could beat. And I was taking a break and then noticing that my skill improved. And why do I say I went to bed and that was very important? Like you have to sleep. Because when you sleep, that's where your brain consolidates all the information you learn throughout the day. So if you took in a lot of stuff, you're actually not learning any of it in that day. You only learn that when, like, you absorb it, you process it once you sleep. So the next is whatever you do this day, it's not for today, it's for the next day. And the same works even with working out. If you were at the gym and you're working out your arm muscle, for instance, and you get really tired and you can't lift anymore, you've reached your limit. Okay, your muscle is not strong right now. In fact, it is weak. When you have exhausted yourself, you are in a weak condition. You're actually weaker than you probably started out. However, you go to sleep, your muscle repairs itself. The next day or the next 2 days, depending on how long it takes for your recovery, you become stronger. So you get strong after, not during. So this whole thing about mileage in a session, like it looks linear, but in terms of how it actually works, it's not linear at all. You have a time where it's like, as long as you're having fun and you're not frustrated, you're getting a lot out of what you're doing. Once you start to be frustrated and you stop having fun, you start to get less out of what you're doing, and you actually can stop your growth. And so I was doing this for most of my artistic journey. I was just thinking about mileage, and I thought of frustration as part of it. Like, oh, no pain, no gain. And I thought as fun as, well, I shouldn't be having fun because fun isn't what I'm here for. I'm here to learn. And I thought fun is like what you have after. Like, oh, you do a lot of work. It sucks. It's frustrating. It's difficult. And the reward is, but then you get really good and then you have fun. That is not effective, or at least it's not effective for me. And so far from what I'm I've been talking to students about this stuff, and I'm seeing way more results once I've started to encourage people, like, have fun, do what's fun to you, don't do what's difficult, necessary, like, do what's really hard in a way. For instance, fight the difficult boss that you don't think you can beat. Do the thing that seems too hard to accomplish. However, don't judge. Don't say, I suck, I can't do this, I'll never be able to do this. Don't worry about that. Just do the thing that's too hard. Do it while it's fun. You're kind of excited. Can I do this? Can I pull this off? Stop as soon as it's like, this is getting frustrating. I'm tired of failing so much. Just stop. Do other stuff. Sleep. Try again. If you do this instead of quitting, you'll keep getting that skill jump where every new session, so say, here's a new session, here's a new session, here's a new session, here's a new session. Your skill will go like boop, and then it'll go like boop, 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 boop. But if you're just looking at it from one day, you might not appreciate, and you might quit here thinking like, well, I didn't improve, or in fact, my skill over the span, I got worse. I don't like how that feels. I'm not good at this. I'll never be good at this. And you quit. You don't even realize you were going to have a big jump. You're going to have a big jump like over and over. You're going to keep increasing your ability. So don't quit. That's like the biggest thing is keep doing what you're doing. Keep having fun and just never quit. So for me, what mattered a lot then was managing this frustration aspect. How do you not get frustrated? And how do you have fun? And one of the things I learned is that doing easy stuff is not fun for me. At least, like, if I've been learning a bunch of different stuff lately. Started learning piano, trying to learn animation, tried to learn some 3D. And so I guess after the video game thing, it's like, oh, that really worked. After about a week, I was able to beat the things that were really hard and I didn't think I could do. I thought, can I apply this to other areas of life? Can I apply this to other skills? So I tried applying it to music. And it's like, okay, what would this look like in terms of music? Well, the way I would have fun is if I got to kind of play the way I wanted to play and not spend time doing exercises all the time. So I did that and it sounded horrible, of course, because you don't know what you're doing. And then it's like, okay, that's fine. Just keep doing it just have fun with it. And I'm enjoying the sounds I'm making. And yeah, I'm failing, but some of it sounds kind of nice. And I like that I get to move around a lot, and do a bunch of stuff. Now the danger is you develop bad habits. So it would be good to learn things like proper form, the same as, working out. You don't just want to, I'm going to try my best and lift as much weight as possible because that sounds fun to me. No, like you got to have some common sense with this as well. But what it means is you're not going to shy away from challenges. And then I just okay, next day I come at it again and I started having rapid improvement. And with animation as well, I started having rapid improvement, but I wasn't doing exercises like bouncing balls and stuff, like the basic beginner stuff you're supposed to learn, because for me, it wasn't stimulating me. So I wasn't having fun. And because of that, it wasn't sticking as much. So I started doing difficult things like characters spinning in the air, doing all these rotating things, twisting, hands animating, and difficult things. And I actually got better. It started to work. But whenever I would try to do a basic, a swinging tail or something, it wasn't, my brain wouldn't engage and I was improving really slowly. So that's something that I discovered that, for me anyway, challenge is better. Like, do things you can't do, go to sleep, wake up, try again, go to sleep, wake up, try again. And you should improve. Now, there's something else that was really, really, really important that I didn't understand, and that was the importance of breaks. Breaks. And with working out, this is very obvious. You'll do things like you'll have a leg day and then a chest day or whatever, like maybe chest and arms and legs and back or whatever. You divide the muscles you focus on, and the reason you do that is so that you have time to recover. You have time for your body to recover. But with art, what I used to think is you just go at full steam as long as possible, and that's good. No, that's actually not good. What happens is you burn out. And I also didn't know what a break meant. I thought breaks were like things you took that were supposed to be fun or enjoyable in some way. Like, I'm on my break, this should be fun. But I learned that's not really what a break is. A break is actually just doing something different than what you've been doing. So in the case of working out, you're using your arms, right? Let's say it's arm day, and you're lifting weights with your arms. Okay, so your arms are tired. So the next day you don't do your arms, you do your legs or something. That's a break because you're giving your arms a break. You're giving them a chance to recover. So what I started thinking of is breaks, and then with your brain, right? Like, you're also working out different parts. Like, am I being very focused on left brain analytical exercises like learning perspective right now? Or am I focused on more right brain exercises like developing intuition, allowing my subconscious to be free and stuff? But no matter what you do, you need a chance to kind of flush your brain of whatever it's doing, do something different. And I would find that with working, this happened a lot where I was putting in work, but I was getting more and more tired every day. I was getting less productive, and I would feel guilty, and I would start the day thinking, today I have to do this. I have to do this. I didn't make enough progress yesterday, so today's the day I do it. And I would end up procrastinating, not doing a good job, getting frustrated about not doing a good job, feeling like I'm screwing everything up, and also feeling like I can't take a break because I don't have time. Like, I have to finish this. I've already wasted too much time, so I can't take a break. What I do now is if I feel like I need a break, I take a break. It doesn't matter that you think, oh, but then I've wasted a day. Because what happens is, let's say you have 3 days to do something, right? And if I, 1, 2, 3. So I'm like this productive first day. Okay, now I'm going to not take a break. I'm this productive, and I'm not going to take a break, and I'm that productive. Okay, if here, instead, I took a break, so didn't do anything this day, then what tends to happen is the next day I do this. So you're making up for the loss of productivity with an increase of productivity after your break. So breaks are very important. And again, it doesn't matter so much that you're doing something fun as it matters that you're doing something different. And so for what I've found is that usually one day in a week, I will try to take a break if I can, if I remember. And I'm using a lot of my own brain to figure this out, like, or body feeling, I guess, like trying to gauge, am I getting stuck a lot? Am I feeling like I'm not progressing? Is this frustrating? Do I need a break? Is that what I need? Because then when I do, so far I've always benefited. I've always been afraid, like, oh, but what if I'm just going to waste my time and I'm not going to actually get anything out of this? then what? Well, then that would suck, but you only wasted a day and you were going to waste a day anyway, so whatever. But so far it's always been beneficial to take a break. I was always afraid that if I start taking breaks, I'm just going to become super lazy and I'm just going to slack off all the time. But the thing is, what you have to remember is you are trying to maximize the fun, and you're doing these things. I mean, if you're doing this for the right reason, you're doing it because it is fun. Like, you're pursuing art because it's fun, or it's rewarding in some way to you. It's satisfying, and enjoyable. And so it should be. And that's what you should be doing. You should be focusing on that. And it shouldn't be frustrating, actually. So that's like a big talk about why you shouldn't necessarily just put in a ton of work. And I used to hear a lot of people talking about get your 16 hours a day in, get your 16 hours a day in. And so now I want to talk about I want to play devil's advocate. And I did have time when I was putting in, 12 hours a day. I don't think I ever consistently put in 16 hours. I think I was putting in like 20 hours on an off day. But mostly I was like 12 hours of working in a day, and I did improve a lot. So by that token, you could say, over the span of a month, you improved a lot by putting in tons of work. But what I'll tell you is, first of all, by adopting this new approach, I think in a month, I'm improving more than I did before. But I won't say you don't improve by putting in tons of work. There's this thing that happens when you put in a lot of effort, you and you keep hitting a wall and you keep breaking through that through just sheer will. You actually do get more stamina and you can do more the next day. So this type of like hard work, super tough approach does work. And for some people, that's their preferred thing. That's what they like to stay in. They like to be that, like, put your ass to the fire or put your nose to the grindstone, whatever expression. But they like that and they feel that type of improvement. What I've noticed personally is that often what you pay, like everything you do, you pay for. So what you pay for constantly breaking that wall seems to me, from my experience, to be you lose creativity. You lose your ideas. You lose the point. I've seen so many people who gain tremendous skill and don't know why, like they can't think of ideas for themselves anymore. They just become the ultimate tool, but they no longer can wield that tool because they don't have the brain for it. And I think, from what I'm thinking, it's like your subconscious is like a child or a baby animal or something like that. It responds very well to care, to compassion, giving it freedom, some boundaries, but mostly, let it do what it wants. Just don't let it get into too much trouble. Don't let it get hurt. And when you're kind to yourself in that way, you are rewarded by your subconscious. So your instinct level of creating goes up, whereas your analytical level might not. So for me, doing all this meant my instincts got better, and that's where I was seeing the improvement. So if you ask me to explain how I was getting better, I can't really do it. And this is one of the things where I think some people, especially people who are very analytical or people who demand control in their lives, tend to focus on the not fun, frustrating, but I'm going to put in tons of effort. And what it gives them is this feeling of, well, if it's intuitive, I don't know what I'm doing. But if I know exactly what I'm doing because I did these exercises, then I feel like I control it. Problem is you're losing your creativity. You're losing the well of inspiration that the best ideas come from. Just know that's what you're sacrificing. So even people who go to like schools that are kind of boot camps and they learn a ton of just stuff, I've noticed the ideas are kind of weak, and a lot of your best ideas come during breaks. They come from when you're resting, when you've finished processing. And these intense things where it's like you're always working, always working, always working. Even in a boot camp type environment, for people who like military people and stuff, their bodies tend to at some point get damaged really badly. So there's usually a period of like, this is too much, and you break down. And even with art, this happens where people sometimes they have this epiphany that I have all this skill, I have everything that I wanted, I sacrificed everything to get it, I didn't have any friends, I got rid of my social life, I didn't play games, I didn't have fun, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. Now I finally have all the skill I need. But the other cost is, and I don't have ideas, I don't have a sense of who I am anymore. I am a tool. So being a tool, though, what that gives you is you are useful to someone else. So maybe you don't have your own ideas, but maybe you never wanted to work for yourself. Maybe that wasn't your thing. Like, I want to realize my own vision. Maybe your thing was more like, I just want to work for a company and be useful. I just want to be part of this bigger thing. Then that's fine. That's why I said in the beginning, there's no one right way. You just got to think about, what is your goal? Because if your goal is like, I want to be working for someone else, realizing their ideas, and I just want to be the ultimate skill person, then you tend to get money for that. You get like compensated. There's a lot that you get rewarded for. Maybe your thing is like, I do art because I'm good at art, but I want to have a nice house. I want to have like a nice car. I want to be able to afford things in life, and being a tool working for someone else in a way will offer me more of that. Whereas when you work for yourself, what you get, like doing personal projects, what happens is you get things like personal satisfaction, fulfillment, fun. Like, the way I see it is, if I had all the money in the world, would I be really excited about having a really nice house and a really nice car and stuff? And it's like, I'd briefly be like, oh, that's cool, wow, look at that. But then I wouldn't be fulfilled. I would just be like, oh, that's something. But what would I do if I had all the money in the world? And my thought immediately goes to, oh, then I'd actually have time to do everything I want to do with my comics and my stories and stuff. And so that is the most important thing. Like, for me anyway, that's the most important thing for my life. Is kind of, if you were a kid, what would you do if you had like all the time? Would you still draw because that's what you like to do? Or would you be like, well, if I'm not making money anymore, I'm not going to draw? And I think the answer is usually there. If you look at your childhood and you look at who you were, what you like to do. And for me, I liked world building. I liked making characters up. I liked stories, and like learning. So things like that were really important to me. And so for me, understanding that, okay, what it means is if I pursue this, maybe I make less money. That's okay, because I'm still doing what I want to do anyway. Like, if I made a lot of money, I'd do the same thing. And so prioritizing things like that can be really useful. But that's kind of a different topic, because I just wanted to mostly talk about this stuff, which is, find when you start to stop having fun. Stop, sleep, try again. Stop, sleep, try again. Keep doing it. It'll make it so the fun lasts longer, your skill goes up. It's not noticeable right away, so don't get discouraged. It takes some days, because again, you're quitting earlier, so you're not gonna you might not feel like you've done as much, especially because things are easy. When things are easy, especially in the culture that I grew up in, there's this feeling that easy is bad, easy is wrong. It shouldn't be easy. Like, drawing faces for me was always easy, so I felt like, well, that's not learning if I do it then, which is absurd. Of course it is. Like, you'll just get better at what you're strong at, so you'll be extremely strong at what you're good at, instead of only working on your weak spot, which will make you okay or better at what you're bad at. So now on one hand, you could either be great at what you're good at, or you could be pretty good at what you used to be bad at. And sometimes you want to do both. Like, maybe you need to handle some of your weaknesses because they're important in realizing your strengths. For instance, for me, learning 3D is to aid my comics and stuff. It's not because I love 3D, because I don't. So yeah, you gotta think about that. And try, above all else, I would say, try to reduce the amount of frustration. Like, if you can work for a really long time to the point of exhaustion, but you never get frustrated because you don't think about stuff like that. Like, some people are just like that. They can do stuff and kind of always have this childlike naivete about them. Like, oh, I just enjoy drawing. Those people are super lucky. That's great. That's a great thing to have. To not have the, I suck, I'm not good, I'm never gonna be good. You don't want that. So if you can eliminate the frustration, and usually frustration comes from things like judgment, things like failing to meet expectations you set for yourself or you think you should meet, or maybe you're comparing yourself to someone else who's better than you at something. But usually what happens is people compare themselves to someone else who's better than them at something, but they never compare everyone else to the thing they're better than everyone else on. Or not never, they often neglect to do that. So often we compare ourselves and we think, like, what do I suck at that everyone else is better than me at, or that this person I admire is better. But you don't spend as much time thinking, like, wow, I have this thing that is so much better than this other person, and I admire them, but I'm way better at doing this thing. Because at least then you get some kind of positive reinforcement, and you'll likely do it more. Whatever makes you do things more is usually good, but breaks are super important, because your brain is still some kind of machine and it needs to function, and it won't if you are just constantly working. You will reach a point where you'll burn out and it's not going to be fun, and what's the point? So yeah, talked long enough. I hope this helps, and thanks for watching.